As Jeremy Clarkson would say, power! On today's episode of Watch JR Go, we have what I think just became my favorite SUV I've ever driven. A sports military SUV? This is wild. What is going on, guys? I am Watch JR Go, and today we have here the 2024 Mercedes-Benz G63 AMG. And you might think that this is just a big old SUV for posers. And a lot of times it is. Listen to my truck climbing that hill. Whoa, that power stroke sounds cool. This SUV is powered by the 4-liter Hot V twin turbo V8 that makes like 577 horsepower and 590 foot-pounds of torque or something like that. This is the same twin turbo V8 you find in Mercedes Roadsters, things like the AMG GTR Pro, and it's incredible in this truck. It's not as fast as any of those cars, but it's wildly fast for the form factor, and it handles like you would not believe. The old G-Wagon didn't hold a candle to this thing. It might have made a bunch of power and a lot of noise, but this makes all the noises, all the power, and it can handle. And the steering wheel's not off center. That's really the biggest thing. We can just move that to number one. The steering wheel isn't off center. In the old ones, the steering wheel was off center and they had the cluster from a C-Class in them, and it just didn't feel right. Something about it felt absolutely wrong. They were expensive, but they weren't good. Now, this G63 is an absolutely impeccable spec. The white looks crazy good, and these huge black monoblock wheels look even better. They are 22s, and I will say if there's one real downside to this truck, and most of the new cars, it's the fact that it has 22-inch wheels. They look incredible. The covers, the center caps there, they look incredible. The brakes are monstrous, almost maybe 18-inch brakes. You figure if these are 22s, those are only about 3 to 4 inches away from the brake rotors. Huge AMG brakes in there. It looks like they're standard 6-piston, but it might even be bigger than that. I'm actually not sure because you can't see it at all through these wheels. Wheels, just incredible. And since we're talking about those wheels, I should mention that they are the only downside as well, because they're so big and the tires are so small and the truck is so big and weighs so much that those tiny little tires can't soak up the road. So when you're feeling those little bitty bumps on the road, they get pushed into the chassis, and the suspension works really hard. It's good. The suspension's incredibly good. Don't get me wrong. The suspension works so hard to smooth those bumps out. Now, incredibly, this thing has almost no body roll. At speeds you should not be able to stick an SUV in a corner. It sticks like you wouldn't believe. It sticks like a fly in a glue trap. This thing absolutely hugs the road, and that's thanks to a whole bunch of magical electronic suspension. It almost looks like those massive Multimatic dampers that you'd see on like a Chevrolet Colorado ZR2 or the crazy dampers on a Ram TRX. They've done a lot of work to this thing, and I'm pretty sure it also uses active body control, not old Mercedes ABC, but active body control to solve all the roll with active sway bars. And it's incredible. You'll put a car into a corner where you're like, oh, the body's gonna roll this way, and instead it rolls the exact opposite way and keeps it flat through the corner. This thing stays flat through the corners. Now, let's actually talk about the car. We talked about all the driving. I don't know anybody that doesn't love the G-Wagon. It's an incredible looking vehicle, an old military vehicle that's been converted into a new luxury SUV, and they kept the doors and they kept the door sound, and we should just lead with that. Honestly, you saw it at the beginning of the video. That is a door. They shut so well all the way through every door, even the back door. It's just the perfect door sound. Anyway, coming out of the doors, we have these big chrome running boards, and we can't forget to mention those incredible side exhausts. They come out both sides, right in front of the rear wheels. They sound amazing. This thing sounds perfect. Power folding, power mirrors, blind spot monitors, LED turn signals, obviously 360 cameras. This is a loaded G63. This big, huge hood, which covers that 4-liter V8. It has the 9-speed automatic transmission behind that into the epic G-Wagon 4-wheel drive system with triple differential lockers, front, rear, and center, as you'd expect. Headlight washers right there, LED DRLs, LED headlights, multi-beam LED even. LED turn signals on the new ones. That's something everybody does on the old ones. They try to upgrade to these because these rock. It has this little reflector and the lights shine up at the reflector and out. It's really, really cool. But I think the real turn signal on this is the DRL normally. They changed to amber. Very cool. Big silver painted push bar across the front, ultrasonic parking sensors throughout. You would expect that. Little air temp sensor right there. So you know that outside air temp, you don't want to be getting out of your luxury SUV and it be too hot or too cold outside, right? Anyway, radar cruise, front camera right there, AMG, kind of a billet grille. It looks perfect with the truck. Obviously AMG badges all the way around, more of those wonderful side pipes, a huge fuel door, which is interesting. It's almost like it was designed for a diesel with DEF, right? That's just kind of weird. I do love how that door opens. It's one of the nicest opening fuel doors I've ever seen. So that's the oversized fuel door right there. There's probably a diesel option in Europe. Ultrasonic parking sensors all the way around the back as well. It comes with a great hitch that's ready to be towed with right there, 2-inch receiver. So not a 2.5 or anything weird. You're not going to pull anything huge with your G-Wagon, but you can pull your boat to the lake. And I'm sure you've all seen pictures of these pulling boats. It's a scene. When they show up, it creates a scene. Huge spare tire in the carrier on the back, painted cover with this nice polished metal around the tire, rear wiper in there, the huge door that opens up into the back. We've got tufted stitching all the way through the door panel there. Door panel's nice, heavy, the subwoofer in the rear, lighting in the rear, a cargo cover that slides back, lighting over here, and check it out, 115 volt outlet right there. Kind of interesting. This looks like a light sensor right there. Mercedes put one on each side in the rear. It's probably a sun load sensor for the air conditioning, if I had to guess. And the floor mats are back here in this one. They look like they've never been used. This thing's brand new. Let's shut this monster back door so we can hear the sound. Also, this door will stay wherever you put it, so it can open all the way. It's just a gas strut that's really, really well designed. Look at that. If you only want it to open that far, it only opens that far. That far, that far. But if you add a little pressure, it opens all the way. That is a very, very well designed gas strut. It even stopped right there. Wow. Killing it, Mercedes. The back seats flip down as you would expect because maybe you need all the storage. Ski pass through as well in case you need to bring your skis in your G-Wagon. And really, if there's one thing you need to do, it's probably bring your skis in your G-Wagon. So that's pretty much the entire exterior. The fender flares also look good. I should mention on like a G-Wagon 4x4 squared, you would get these in carbon fiber and lifted, obviously bigger wheels and tires, bigger tires. On the stock ones, you get these nice painted fender flares that are still excellent. The carbon fiber ones, excellent. These ones, excellent. Everything about this, very good. Also, the windshield is pretty straight, like a Jeep. But I don't hear as many stories about these braking as you hear about Jeep windshields braking. So let's go inside. We're not going to start with the front seat this time. Let's start with the back seat. Time for a quick tour of the back. It's pretty simple. Tufted inserts on the door panel. Absolutely everything's wrapped in nice leather. Full auto on the windows. Heated seats in the rear. Burmester grills for the speakers. Really nice integrated door handles, nice door pockets, lighted AMG badges all the way through in the door sills, and tufted seats. It's a little dirty inside, but check it out. Check out the rear headrests. Even the middle one can come up. Of course, we've got the flip down center console, ski pass through, dual cup holders right there. And the back is just spacious. There's plenty of room back here. I'm gonna hop in right now. There is a ton of room in this back seat. It is absolutely comfy. I can see how this would be perfect on a road trip. Your back angle's perfect. The headrest is perfect. You can really lay back and relax. Very, very ergonomic back here. A lot of times we have people bring these on supercar rallies with us, and the G-Wagons really have no problem keeping up. They use them for support vehicles and put tons of people in here and all the luggage. They work out really, really well. And now I understand why. I've never sat in the back seat before. It's really good. A little elastic seat pocket in front of you. It looks like plastic, but instead it's leather wrapped. It's actually just leather with a little piece of cardboard right there covering up the elastic. So that's interesting. And of course the vent for the ventilated seats is right there. Here in the back, we've got two big turret vents, nice, dampened. That's really sick. 3-zone climate control, as you'd expect, with temp and fan speed. Here in the back, a little display that shows the current temperature. And here, all right, that's cool. We've got the ashtray, a smoker's package. What? A cigarette lighter that's still a cigarette lighter. That's rare. You don't see that anymore. And I love that they labeled the USB port 5 volts. USB ports are 5 volts. They're not lying. That's pretty cool. A nice touch. Everything that outputs voltage says the voltage. That's just a cool way to tie everything together. And we've got some clothes hooks right here, right there. And of course, nice handles. All right, let's hop in the G63. We're gonna go ahead and start this thing up. As soon as you get in, the cluster fires up here. Hit the start button. Oh, listen to that. It's so good. Wow, the perfect sound from that twin turbo V8. Let's start right over here at the door panel. So first we have to shut the door, of course. You gotta really shut this thing. Full auto windows all the way around, as you would expect. Auto up, down, power folding mirrors, your mirror controls right there, window locks right there, heated, ventilated seats. You can use them both at once, which is awesome. All your seat controls are right there. Triple memories, a big door pocket, of course the Burmester speakers, and that is most of the door panel here. I really like the Burmester tweeters that are hanging out up here at the bottom of the A-pillar. Those look very nice. Here we have some of the ADAS controls, parking sensors off, light controls, front rear lights, auto lights, the dimmer, which is actually a dial. That's interesting. You don't see that very often anymore. And fog lights underneath that. Here on the steering wheel, we've got the controls for the whole car for the most part. So let's talk about the turn signal wiper stock first. There's a lot of controls on here. You got turn signals, high beam, low beam, and the rear wiper and the front wiper. And also underneath that, you have the power tilt telescope wheel controls. And over here, you have the shifter on the right side, just a normal Prindle with up for reverse and down for drive. You know, I'm really starting to like the twist one more than the up and down one, but they're both muscle memory at this point, so it works out really well. Whatever you're used to driving, it only takes a day to get used to it. We've got your controls for the cluster right here. This scrolls back and forth. It's a little touch screen on both sides, which is always cool. This one here controls the media as it normally does in a Mercedes. We'll jump back over here to start though. We've got cruise on off, all the cruise control settings right here, cruise distance, and resume, cancel, and set up and down. Everything you would expect. This is back to home here in the cluster. And on the opposite side, like I said, the media controls are over here, infotainment, actually that screen, right? And then over here, you've got your voice controls, favorites, volume, push to mute, and answer and hang up calls. Underneath that, the typical Mercedes controls for your drive modes. There's Sport Plus. You can see the car went fully dynamic and opened the exhaust right there. If we go back to comfort, or yeah, the exhaust closes and it's nice and quiet again. If you just want the exhaust, hit that button. If you just want to shut off traction, hit that button. I assume you have to hold it to really shut off traction. Let's find out. It probably turns red. Look at that. Now traction's off. So we'll hit it one more time to turn it back on. We're not going to drive it around like that. So that is the steering wheel, and you can also change the cluster to a bunch of different modes, like the AMG performance mode that now shows boost, horsepower, torque, and you can really configure it to do whatever you want. Lap timer, G meter, what the drive mode is. These screens are very, very configurable. Now we've got oil temp and transmission temp. It's got all the information you want, and you can configure both sides of the cluster, of course. So here in the middle, we have a million buttons. So here's our diff locks right there. There's front, center, and rear diff locks. Cool turbine vents on each side of that. Underneath it, we have climate controls. So here's your temp. This is defrost, vent controls, fans, auto, max defrost, rear defrost, menu reset. I've never actually hit that button in my life. I wonder what that does. Oh, and rest. It's not reset, it's rest. So you can turn on probably the afterblow and things like that. So that's the climate menu right there. Pops right up, as you just saw. It's got an ionizer in it if you want. AC on and off, recirc, and then the passenger's controls for vent, defrost, and their temperature. So everybody gets buttons, which you'd kind of expect that out of a G-Wagon. navigation, radio, and media buttons. I pretty much only ever use these controls right here. I've never gone over here to find any of these things. It's cool that they gave you buttons for them, but in reality, you're just gonna scroll around and use home and back to get to any menu you want in this car. Phone menu right there, and the vehicle menu. The clock though is IWC, and it's very, very cool. There's a matching IWC digital clock right there in the cluster. Hazards at the very end, cup holders right there, along with a key slot, and it looks like 12-volt power. They didn't label the 12-volt power. Come on guys, put 12V on there. Moving down on the center console, we have the drive modes again. If you push them here, it changes here. You can see it reflected all over the place. I don't know why there's that many buttons for the drive modes, but I think it's because you can option it without the steering wheel. You don't have to have all of these switches right there on the steering wheel that are actually screens. Manual shift on the transmission. There's your suspension modes, traction again, and exhaust again, and another volume control. So it's nice to have plenty of physical volume controls. And your 360 cameras. Fire those up right now. Ooh, interesting. It's not a touchscreen. I thought this was a touchscreen based on the menu, but it's not. There's trailer hitch, a rear wide, all the way down the sides for off-roading, front, and front wide. Front wide looks very cool. So let's get back out of there. Just hit the back button down here. And the scroll wheel right here, it really does everything on the car. And some of them are touchscreens. Yeah, this one's a touchscreen. Look at that. Now I can change my massage settings. So massage seats, perfect, perfect, perfect. I couldn't ask for more. It's a good massage too. All right, you've got back, track forward, and home down there. Enough about that. The center console is big, and there are two old school USB-A ports in there. Actually, every port in this car is USB-A, and an SD slot, so you can leave a bunch of music in the car if you need to. This is wrapped in some nice leather, just very well done. Glove box, huge, and soft open. It looks like the manual, the first aid kit, everything is shoved in there. And don't forget, you've got this big grab handle for the passenger that says manufacturer car, or however Whistling Diesel said it. Frameless mirror, big upper center console, sunroof controls right there. Are these touch? Oh no, you have to actually push buttons, don't you? Why does that say reading light but nothing happens? Very interesting that nothing happens. And a manual sliding sunroof cover. Obviously it opens automatically if you open the sunroof, but there's no glass roof or anything like that. It just has a lot of headroom. This massage is a warming massage, and I'm not a fan of it right now. Can I have a less energizing massage, Mercedes? Ambient lighting throughout the cockpit, and you can change the colors here in the touchscreen, and it's just really well done. So that is a complete tour, for the most part, of the 2024 Mercedes G63 AMG. Let's take it out for a drive. This has multi-speed windows. I love that feature. Look at that, high speed. There's low speed, high speed, so good. And full auto up. So accelerating away, you can hear this thing makes perfect sounds. We're gonna have to roll the windows up for this. It's just a little too noisy with them down today. The way this thing drives is absolutely unbelievable. Here's a corner, point it in, no body roll at all. It's unbelievable how good it is. I've put a few miles on this thing, and I can tell you, it turns in way too well for what it is, for its size. And the power is delivered very well. It doesn't jump through the gears too quickly while you're trying to get it pointed into the corner and set and add power. And it just does everything way better than it ever should be able to do it. The G-Wagon has gone through generations of refinement, and this one, I don't know how they're gonna top it. I mean, I know they're getting ready to, they dropped the EV version of this, and it can do tank turns. So you could park in the middle of the road and do 360s. That's crazy. But this, what is now the outgoing ICE version, is unbelievably good. Here's a corner. We're in this corner. Just the slightest body roll. And we're going quick. I mean, these corners say 35, the speed limit's 55, and we're going 55. And it's not having a single issue. And I do have to point out, the brakes, not carbon ceramic or anything. I think it would be the only truck with carbon ceramics if it did have them. I mean, the Urus is about the closest thing to a truck with carbon ceramics, but the brakes are more than adequate. In fact, here we're going 60, and here's 50% brake. It stops. It really does stop. So excellent brakes. They nailed these gauges too. They're modern without being too much. This is such a great drive out here in the canyons. Here, we'll add some power. There's still no body roll in the turns. All right, now it's time to come to a stop, and let's do a little 0 to 60 action and see just how fast this monster is. Listen to those downshifts, they sound good. All right, there's 0 and full throttle. How wild is that? And when it's in sport and you're driving it, it holds gears perfectly. It doesn't jump around too much, but you know, you're going through some nice momentum driving, back and forth turns, and you're just squeezing the power in it. It stays in the gear. It stays right in the gear. And then we're out on this straight road suddenly, and it shifts all the way up to what it's in 6th right now. So a nice chill drive instantly, but also always being in the right gear without putting it in manual. That's very impressive. So anyway, that's the 2024 Mercedes G63 AMG, and I am absolutely in love with this thing. I didn't think I really wanted one of these. I mean, everybody kind of wants one of these. When you see them out, or you see all the soccer moms in them, you're like, wow, that looks incredible. But after driving it and finding out that it's secretly a sports SUV that's not just fast, you know, there was the V12 version, you would think they were fast. This is fast and it handles, and that's the part that has actually blown my mind. So there you go, 2024 Mercedes G63 AMG, the G-Wagon. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Here, this corner says 45. Adding power. Perfectly flat. And then as we straighten up, squeezing more power in, and it's a rocket ship. As Jeremy Clarkson would say, power! And really, if there's one thing you need to do, it's probably bring your skis and your ski wet.